Let's review our Sunday school lesson for today. We're in the fall quarter for the months of September, October, and November, entitled Worship in the Covenant Community. And it's a study of the word worship, which is a grateful response to a relationship with God. We're going to be looking at the pattern and the practices from praising God for his goodness to calling on him for his mercy. Today, even though we are in the month of September, the last lesson of this month, this fifth Sunday, is the beginning of unit number 2. And it is for the month of October, but it begins in September, just this one lesson. Then the next 4 in October will continue in the October unit number 2, entitled Songs of the Old Testament. We're going to be looking at Isaiah and the book of Psalms and of the book of Exodus. We're going to look at some of the songs that Israel used in worship and in prayer to God. Our lesson for today is lesson number 5 for September 29, 2024, entitled Time to Party. Our printed passage is Exodus 15, verse 1 through 3, verse 11 through 13, verse 17, 18, verse number 20, and verse number 21. The setting of our text today comes on the heels of God doing the miraculous. The Bible tells us that after 10 plagues that come upon Egypt, and the last plague which killed the firstborn of their children, their male children and their male cattle, that a cry erupted out of Egypt. That cry of despair was the liberating bells that rung for Israel. For on their doorposts was the blood of a perfect lamb, and the death angel passed over their house. And they made their exodus from 40 years of enslavement. But don't stop there. The miraculous miracles continue because when they got to the Red Sea, God allowed it to part and for them to walk across on dry land. And once the Egyptians got in to the river, the Nile River and the Red Sea, and were walking across it, God allowed the Red Sea to come back and consume up their enemies. And once they got to the other side, the Bible says that they began to sing this song in Exodus chapter 15. Now, as we talk about worship today, I want to make special note of our text today. In verse number 1 and verse number 20, there are leaders in worship. I want us all to be aware and understand the fact that we are each called leaders in worship. And worship requires leaders. It requires those who stand out front and show the way. Verse number 1, it was Moses who led the people in this song. Verse number 20, it was Miriam who led the people with the tambourine. And it requires leaders. It requires those men and women who will step up and will show what worship and praise to God ought to look like. Then I want you to see how these individual leaders impacted corporate worship. Moses led the people in this song. Miriam led the tambourine. And it says that Moses with the children of Israel, verse number 1, sung this song. Then it says in verse number 20 that Miriam and all the women went out after her with the tambourines. So individually they worship, but as leaders, it required others to follow. A corporate worship, a unified worship, a oneness in worship. Thank God for leaders who lead in worship, but then thank God for us as a community of believers who worship together. Then there's a worshiping spirit. Verse number 2 says that the Lord, you are my strength and my song. Notice they did not say that you're my weakness or my sadness from these events, but they had strength from God and a new song to sing for the Lord. And what did they sing? Verse number 4, they declared of the goodness. Fourthly, they declared of the goodness of God, what he had done, how he defeated their enemies, as well as how he had blessed his people. And this gives to us, church, a beautiful image of what leaders can do in leading corporate worship, in allowing us to come together to praise and worship God for everything that he has done for us. So let us worship. Let us be leaders in worship so that we can come together as a church and worship God. I pray this lesson has been a blessing unto you.